Okay, 2 o'clock Eastern, right on the button. We're going to get started. 20-minute sprint, start the clock. Here we go. Today's topic, we are going to dive into Stoicism for sales. If you don't know anything about Stoicism, don't worry about it. We're going to squeeze a lot into the next 20 minutes. If you're new to the weekly training, here's how we run things, a couple rules of engagement. 20 minutes, it's literal, 20 minutes in, out. I just started the clock. We're going to crunch a lot into the next 20 minutes, and then I will hit the clock at the 20-minute buzzer. We will wrap everything up. I stick around for another 10 minutes for open Q&A. So if you do have any questions, you want to pop them into the chat, which is right here. I would advise asking them as they come up into your mind, because we handle them one at a time in order that they come in. If we don't get to everything, we do have a Slack channel that is open for everyone that we handle Q&A afterwards there. Everything that you're going to see here is coming directly out of a new skill track that we just launched inside Triple Session. If you're not in Triple Session, it's free. It has condensed content and trainings on all of the topics that we discuss here in our sprints, including among them Stoicism. So let's get into it right now. Stoics and Stoicism. What is the brief history of it? Initially comes from ancient Greece, like most of our legacy philosophies do. It really started to gain traction in ancient Rome through the three gentlemen whose granite and marble busts that you see in front of you: Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca. You can learn a lot from going back to the original source material and reading up on all of this stuff. We have condensed book summaries inside Triple Session if you want to get the condensed versions and the quizzes that are associated with them. So what is Stoicism? The founders of Stoicism really boiled it down to four key virtues, four principles: wisdom, the thought that we put into our lives; courage and the ability to move forward and take action; justice, and having a certain level of merit and certain level of ethics in terms of how we operate; and temperance. And temperance is key, and we'll talk about temperance here. How do we moderate and resist temptation throughout our day and apply resistance to us to prepare ourselves for potential hard times ahead? When I think of Stoicism, really, I even condense it down to one word, and it is intent. It is really a philosophy that brings the idea of living with intent in everything we do and every day that we operate. And a lot of what we're going to unpack in the next 18 minutes or so applies that intent to sales and to the professional world. Much of what I pulled out has been updated, revised, repackaged, and put together through a modern day Stoic named Brian Holiday. Many of you have likely read some of Holiday's book, The Daily Stoic: Ego is the Enemy, The Obstacle is the Way. This guy has been studying and writing about Stoicism in a very modern and contemporary way for the last 10 years. We have a lot of his book summaries inside Triple Session right now as well, all inside the skill track that you can find in there. But let's dive in. Let's start talking about some of the learnings that I pulled from this over the last 5 years that I've really been delving into Stoicism and really reading a lot of the original source material and applying it and really valuing and benefiting from this throughout my work career. Let's start with the quote here. Epictetus, one of the key Stoic philosophers from ancient Rome: suffering arises from trying to control what is uncontrollable or neglecting what is within our power. One of the core tenets, maybe the most critical tenet and value of Stoicism, is the concept of controllables and non-controllables. It's really looking at the things in those two spectrum of what is within our power, what can we actually influence or control, and what is completely outside of our control. The weather is outside your control. If it's raining, there's nothing you can do about it. Bringing an umbrella, dressing accordingly, putting boots on is within your control. And really looking at each circumstance and each situation especially the arduous ones, the difficult ones that you struggle with. This is one of the key values and tenets. As you could probably see already, if you come from a sales background, this is critical for us. We have to look at our work and our world as the things we can control, the inputs into the equation in our day, and the things that we cannot control. We do not buy our product. The customer buys the product. We don't control the purchase. We don't sign the contract. We don't get them to pay the contract. We don't control demand gen in many ways. What do we control? We can control our effort to go to generate demand on our own. We control our effort on the quality of work that we do. We control exactly how prepared we are for each level and each step of the process that we get into. So control is critical, and it was a huge value and opener for me to really understand where should I be applying my attention and my time, and what things that are out of my control that I do not want to get in my way, cloud my judgment, and really take up bandwidth here that is useless, empty calories that are burning because I'm thinking about stuff in the company, stuff in the economy, stuff in demand gen, stuff that's going on with the customer that I can't possibly control. All I can do is focus on the controllables and put all of my energy and effort there. Tenet number one, control. Number two, Marcus Aurelius, maybe the most famous of the Stoics, emperor of Rome at Rome's peak. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So this again leads into control, and a very specific type of control, and it's the control of your perspective. How do you look at the situations that you're getting into, and how are you interpreting them? You cannot change the situation that you're in the moment right at that time. It's just happened. What you can do is change your perspective on it. If you have a customer who cancels, what can you do? How can you look at that perspective as an opportunity? If you have a meeting that cancels, how can you look at that as not a lost opportunity, but you've just opened up a new hour where you can apply more value to other deals. You can look at prospecting, pulling other things into the top of your funnel. Practice on something that you know you need to get better at. How can you look at failure as an opportunity for growth? Perspective is the entire equation when you're interpreting a situation. How you look at the situation will then deem how you then act on it. And are you looking at that from a positive outlook or a negative outlook? Perspective and controlling your mind. If anyone on the call focuses a lot of their time on prospecting, like I always did as a sales rep, what kind of a perspective are you looking at that initial call that you're making to a possible prospect? Are you looking at that perspective as I'm interrupting the person, I am getting in the way of their day, they're going to roll their eyes thinking, this is a sales call, what do you want? And I have to overcome that? Or are you looking at that as I'm taking the time out of my day to give somebody something valuable? I'm calling with advice. I'm calling with something that's a benefit. They might not get it and see it that way, but I know I'm calling and prospecting and reaching out and sending an email from a good place. I'm not prospecting trying to sell something right away. I'm prospecting trying to raise awareness on something that could help the person. Your perspective governs the energy you put into that very same action. How you look at it, that control that you have over your mind will control your energy. That energy will oftentimes control the results that you get. So determining what that mindset is early is all within your control, and it's all within your perspective. Marcus Aurelius taught us that. Zeno, the founder of the philosophy from ancient Athens, well-being is realized by small steps, but it's no small things. The ancient Chinese philosophers talked about, Confucius talked about the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one. There are many different philosophies that talk about this. This one should be obvious for all of us. This is process. And I did not gain my religion on process until I was about 30 years old. When I was selling in my 20s, I was firmly in the camp that I'm talented. I know what to do. I can make it up as I go. I have the brains to handle the situations that they come at me. And that created huge inefficiencies. It made my sales numbers wildly inconsistent. I did okay, but I missed more opportunities than I could have gotten had I lived with the intent and focused on the small steps that I should be putting in. And you will get infuriated if you have a series of bad days, or if you fall into a sales slump and you don't know exactly what's going on and what's happening, if you don't have those small pieces that come together as a one big piece. Process and talking about those small things that Zeno talked about, he was really talking about controlling each little component each day for what it is, following a distinct process and understanding all the small things that you could be doing, which over time add up to the big things. You don't control the past, you don't control the future. All you can do is manage those little elements in the moment. Zeno brings a lot of that energy into the equation. Seneca, Roman senator, another famous Stoic who wrote a lot. Find a path or make one. I mentioned earlier at the top of this, the 4 virtues of Stoicism. One of them is courage. What Seneca is referring to here and what the Stoics talk about a lot is action, not waiting until tomorrow to be a good person, but be that good person today. Not waiting till tomorrow to do the thing that you want to get done, making an action and doing it today. Either find a path or make one. This is the take action moment. This is the don't delay. I love the way Seneca phrases this, and he is absolutely right for salespeople to actually look at each word of that quote. Let me go back to it. Find a path or make one. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. There are tons of best practices, people all around you doing a great job, people that you can learn from, best practices that you can pull in and apply. Don't be the lone wolf sales rep. Be the challenger, and the challenger will take best practices from everywhere. Great artists will steal. Use as much as you possibly can, continuously learning and find that path. But if you can't find one, you make one. And this is huge for us in sales. What happens in marketing if marketing has a slowdown and the leads aren't coming as you expected? What are you going to do? You can't find that path. You got to make one. You can't throw up your hands and just sit back and say, oh, the game is over. I did my job, but marketing didn't do theirs. What can I do? You have to make your own. Get out there and generate your own opportunities. Go ask for referrals. Go prospect outbound. Go back into your CRM and find some old opportunities. Take action. Do not sit back. Follow Seneca's virtue here. Find a path or make one. It's all on you. It's what you can control. Seneca, I put 2 quotes together here. I couldn't pick between the 2 of them because they were so amazing. I had to put both of them together. It's the only slide that has 2 quotes. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Don't stumble over something behind you. That's a great visual, isn't it? Don't stumble over something that's behind you. What is he talking about here? It's being present. We should learn from the past. We should learn from shortcomings. Stoics talk a lot about reflection and journaling and looking back on the past and understanding ourselves and understanding the situations, but they don't get caught up in them. They don't dwell. They don't hold grudges. They live in the present. And this idea that, Mark Twain had a great quote where so many horrible things have occurred in my life, and some of them actually happened. It's the idea that we convince ourselves that situations are worse because we reflect so much on the past that we get lost in it and we focus on regret versus the moment, or we have all of this negative anxiety and anticipation on the future that we're squandering the control that we have in the moment, not thinking about what we can do in the here, the now, and being present. All you have is today. You don't have tomorrow. All you can get out of yourself is the energy that you're putting into this moment right now, being present and not stumbling over something in the past, or getting caught up and bogged down with something in the future, that will dilute the value that you have in the moment. Again, a lot of these concepts tie together. The uncontrollables are the past and the future. You can't do anything about either one of those now. All you can do to influence the future or learn from the past is how you act in the moment. Be present, get the most out of where you are in that call. In sales, what does that mean? I am going to focus on what I need to get out of today. If I missed my number last month, last quarter, if I'm behind this month and this quarter, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to let that anxiety poison the moment that I'm in. I'm going to focus on the here and the now. The only thing I can control is what I'm doing in this moment. Am I prospecting right now? Am I getting ready for discovery right now? Am I presenting or demoing a solution right now? I'm going to deliver the best possible version of myself right now. And that's the only thing I can do. And that by itself, over time, will put the pieces to get as much out of yourself as possible. And as a nice little bonus side effect, it gives you a sense of accomplishment each day. If you're looking at the present and just looking at one day at a time and not losing yourself in the past or the future, you can feel a sense of satisfaction that you set the target, you wanted to do something today, and you got something done today. You wanted to have a great call, you wanted to set a certain number of meetings, you wanted to get certain training done, you wanted to advance on something today. You can control today, be present. It is wildly productive, not just in sales, but in life. It will de-stress and take a lot of your anxiety out of your brain if you can start to practice and master the idea of being present and not getting lost in either the past or the future. Let's come back to Epictetus. This guy was a slave. He had to deal with being a slave in ancient Rome before he finally worked his way and got his freedom. Progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. And this quote kind of combines a lot of these concepts together. We can't control other people. We can control ourselves. I can work on myself. If I'm present, it's a daily present. It's not going to be by accident that I make progress. It's going to be my effort that I put into myself today. It's what I can control. I can take action on it and really move the needle on something that I'm going to make progress on. And I'm living in the moment. I can make sure I put the pieces together and follow process. This quote is great. And it's the last one we have today to really summarize and get everything together, because it involves controllables. It involves living in the moment. It involves taking action, about being accountable. It really serves to practice. The Stoics were enormous practitioners. And if I'd be negligent to say that the concept and the philosophy of Stoicism was a huge influence on the founding of Triple Session and this idea that we put a practice system in place. The Stoics always believed that we can work on ourselves daily, we can be present, we can control and put some positive good on the board. We can look internally as far as where we need to get better and always make progress towards something new. And we are incomplete. There's always something more to learn. Stoics were big practitioners. They talked about practicing in winter, putting yourself in a situation that is more arduous and more difficult today, so you would be prepared for that hard situation should it come up tomorrow. Practice makes progress, nothing more. So we need to continuously work on ourselves. The Stoics were big fundamental believers in that. Again, we have a lot of these concepts and so much more on the fundamentals of Stoicism, on all of the different philosophies broken down. If you've studied some of this in the past, we have things on memento mori, amor fati, all of these different concepts that are drawn together from Stoicism. There's more than an hour worth of content in here in Stoicism, broken down into these different micro sessions inside Triple Session. It's free. Get in there, create an account, jump into the skill track. If you've taken notes on today, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. You're here, you're going to receive a one-page PDF summary of these 6 points of Stoicism and what I talked about and how to apply them to sales. That does it, puts us right at the mark, 20 minutes on the button. I'm going to hit the stopwatch, open it up if you have any questions. I'm going to stick around for another 10 minutes. Looks like we might have a couple here already in the chat. Let me stop sharing and open it up. Let's see what's going on. Okay. So what you're going to find in here is a couple links. You're going to find the link to the one pager. If you want to download it, you can grab it right now. Next skill track coming up, the revenue leader from revenue.io. Revenue.io is a great platform that reads calls, gives prompts as far as next steps and where to go in process. Maria Bross, the big Bross lady herself, is going to be with me next Tuesday. We're going to be talking about how to go deep into customer problem and really explore the origins of why people buy. What is the problem that you're really looking to solve? So more about Stoics last year. Nice to see some concepts applied. Good, good, good. Great to hear everyone. Any questions in here? If we don't get, that's brilliant when you are on the vibe, being able to person the prospect. But what to do when you fade from performance? What to do about the bounce back? This is great. And this is probably, and Stoicism is valuable, not so much when times are great. When times are great, things are easy. You don't need to rely on a philosophy when you are feeling 10 out of 10 and life is easy. Philosophy really comes into check when things get hard. That's when you need to have something to rely back on. And the fact that this thing survived for over 2,000 years means it's been battle tested for situations like this. So what are some of these elements of Stoicism that help you when you go through the tough times, the downturns, the slumps that we all get into? If you sell long enough, you will get into a slump. What does that mean? Well, first, you got to check your mindset. It starts with what's between your ears. You feel like shit when you're in a slump. Salespeople, we get fuel and energy on the high times, on the sales coming in, on hitting goals. When you're not, it deflates you. So the first thing is, okay, what can I control? I can't control me missing number and being in a slump. I can't control that inflation is going crazy. I can't control that there's a war in Ukraine causing everyone to go nuts and understanding what that means. All I can control is what I'm going to do today in the moment, being present. What can I do as far as those little steps that I can put into energy to say, you know what? Today is going to be a good day if I A, B, and C. And keeping your world really small. So I interviewed a Navy SEAL for a book I wrote a couple of months ago. And this guy was brilliant. And his name is Andy Stumpf. I have a lot of content on him that's going to be coming out. He used to train Navy SEALs, and he had to go through Navy SEAL basic training. And something that I asked him a lot about, and he talked a lot about, is this point of Navy SEAL training is called Hell Week. It's 5 days long. They don't let the guys sleep for 5 days, keep them awake 5 straight days, barely any food, and it's constantly exercise and gunfights, and they're carrying boats, and they're swimming in the ocean and back. They are mush. In like 2 days, they're almost dead. And they have to do this for 5 days. I asked them, how do you do it? How do you get through it? Because most people fail. These are like world-class athletes, and most of them fail in the first 2 days. This guy made it through. How'd you do it? He said, I kept my world small. And what does that mean? By keeping yours, he said they had to feed us every 6 hours. By law, they had to give us food because they didn't want us to die. So my world was 6 hours. Can I get to the next meal? Can I get to that next time where I could sit down and eat something because it's the highlight of Hell Week? I'm going to keep it small. Can I do this for another? Yes, I can do it for another 6 hours. And this goes back to some of what we just talked about here in the philosophy. It's focusing on the small steps. The Stoics believed in control over the small steps. Don't think too much in the future. Don't dwell on the past. What is that next meal you can get to? What is that next victory that you could put on the board? Don't make it hitting your number. Don't make it putting a customer on the board. What is the next internal victory that you can control that is putting a win on the board? That's how you get out of a sales slump when things are tough. You just put one after another after another. If one day is even too long, you make it a morning and then an afternoon, small chunks. If that's too long, what do I need to do before 10 a.m.? I'm going to make sure that I do what I need to do as a controllable before 10 a.m. Maybe that's creating a certain number of prospects. That's a number of outreaches. That is following up and reactivating or trying to reactivate a certain number of opportunities. What are the controllables that I can get done in a very small window that can get me to a next milestone? And then I'm going to put another one together and another one and another one. That's how that guy made it through Hell Week and then SEAL training and then had a 17-year career. These things add up. But if you start thinking about the whole thing, and that's what he learned going back and instructing SEALs, he would talk to the guys who failed and he would interview them after they failed and dropped out. It's like, what happened? This is one thing you wanted for your whole life and you quit 2 days into Hell Week. Like, I couldn't think of having to do this for another 3 days. That's where they got lost. They got overwhelmed thinking of the totality of the moment. Don't think about your quarterly number. Don't even think about getting through your next day, that next goal, that next customer or revenue that you're looking to put on the board. What do you need to get done in the next hour? And what is the best version of yourself in that next hour that you can complete in 60 minutes to say, I did as much as I possibly could under my control in this hour, and then this morning, and then for the rest of the day. And one by one step at a time, put it together. You got to keep your world small. Viktor Frankl talks about those things. Book, good. Amazing. There's a phrase for today, the blast. I need to do the ABC. Got me hard. Many thanks, Matt. Good. All right, a lot of commentary in here. If you're thinking right now and you have more questions and we didn't get to them, it's all good. Jump into the triple session Slack. It's open to everybody. Get in there. We have a little Q&A channel that you'll see. Jump in if you had a question or DM me directly. Let me know if you want to get in, chat, talk about stuff. I'm available in there. I live inside the triple session Slack. Let's talk about it. The track is inside the platform on Stoicism. We also have tracks on discovery, demo best practices, prospecting, using LinkedIn. Tons of tracks in there right now. Get in there. Remember what the Stoics taught us. Practice is how we get there, one day at a time, working on ourselves each day. Remember, practice makes progress. You got to get your reps in one day at a time. See you next week, everybody. I'm going to be with Maria Bras talking about how to get deep into customer problem, something all of us should know about.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.